can't eat.
There's something powerful about the journey of leadership, the daily steps, the long-term vision, and everything we learn along the way. Welcome to Leadership Labs, where we explore these journeys with the incredible leaders of Aurora Public Schools. In each episode, we hear from those who are helping guide our district toward destination and guests, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, I'm joined by Patti Moon, our Chief Communications Officer, who has been shaping how Aurora Public Schools tells its story since 2014. From her early days as a television journalist covering stories across the country to leading our district communications through celebrations and crises alike, Patti has helped define our APS brand. As a woman of color in leadership, she brings vital perspective to ensuring our communications reflect and honor the diversity of our community. Patti, welcome to Leadership Labs.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and then what drew you to Aurora Public Schools 11 and a half years ago.
I know it's surprising always to hear that I've been here this long. But no, I love this district. So I am originally a Denver area native. I graduated from Lakewood High School, and then I went to Northwestern in Chicago and had jobs that took me to different cities, but I think I always wanted to come back home. And my grandmother actually lives right by Rangeview High School. So there was a natural draw and pull. So when I got the job in Aurora Public Schools, I was excited to serve this community. I had been gone and didn't know a ton, but I love it here. I love who we serve. I love the team. I love the people who work for this district. And so I couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
And we love you too, Patti. So I'm glad that there's some mutual love there. Yeah. Your role is unique. You get to tell the stories of the incredible things happening across our district, but you have also had to lead communications during crisis situations. How do you navigate that duality?
It is tough because it feels like a roller coaster sometimes. But I think the important part is understanding that you're always doing this in service of kids and families, that there are people always impacted behind each of those really amazing high stories and then crises that we're dealing with. And so just approaching everything with a level of care and sensitivity and understanding that there's a big impact behind each thing that we're working on. And I think the team sometimes when we're working on something really hard or we just have to take a beat sometimes and remind ourselves this is important, impactful. How we message this can really have big ripple effects. And so it's just trying to do it the best we can every day.
Yeah. And y'all do a great job every day. So thank you for that. You talked a little bit about your some of your experiences before being in education, and you've had a successful career as a television journalist. What was that journey like, and what drew you to like school comms or district comms?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, my dream was always to be a TV anchor. When I was little, I would watch the news every night, and I loved Adele Arakawa on 9 News, and so that was what my dream was. I thought that's what I wanted to do forever. So I went to Northwestern. I got my bachelor's and master's degrees in journalism, thinking that this is what I'm going to do. And then I started in TV news. I was a reporter. I anchored a weekend morning show solo, and then I was also in Oklahoma City as a reporter. And as I had a few years of experience under my belt, I realized like this is not what I thought it was and what I want to do for the rest of my life. I think people go into journalism really with great intentions around like giving voice to the voiceless and fighting the good fight. And a lot of the job ends up being like horrific crime stories, chasing weather. People make fun, but there are so many. I'm sure if you find videos of me out in a snowstorm somewhere in the middle of nowhere telling you it's still snowing and the roads are rough, right? So I think just having that, I realized like I would like to use my time here and my career for something that felt more impactful. And so I went searching, I think, for something different. And interestingly, there are a lot of former TV news people who end up pivoting into the K-12 comms. So, talked with a few of them and sort of looked into it and was like, hey, I think this is something that I could be excited and passionate about. And so ended up here.
I love that you said that you would watch the news every night, unlike some of us kids who grew up in Colorado. We would only watch it in the mornings when there might be a snowstorm.
Yeah.
We're looking for, is our district closed?
And it never was.
And that,
Never was that.
that's true. Okay, and you also talked about some of those, harder to tell stories or harder to share stories. So you covered a whole, plethora of different topics as a journalist, from education to health to crime to weather. How did those experiences prepare you for the work that you get to do now?
Oh man, I will say, TV news is an incredible training ground for, I feel like, whatever career folks want to go in. And I say that because every day you are tasked with some random story on a very different topic, because you don't really have beat reporters in TV anymore. So you are given a new challenge. You have to learn about that so quickly, figure out who's going to talk to you, how are you going to get them to talk to you, what questions are you going to ask, all in a very short amount of time. So you're analyzing, gathering super quickly. Then you get the interview, you get the questions, and then from that you have to figure out how are we going to tell this in a minute and a half, right? That really gets the most critical component moments, but also the emotional heart grab moments, and package that together and then, front it live in a newscast and try to make it as exciting and engaging for people as you can. So there's definitely an adrenaline piece every day that gets you through. But I think just in those pieces of storytelling, you have to be really, quick and learn and thoughtful in a short amount of time. So it definitely trains you, I think, for lots of different careers.
Is there a mentor or a leader, professor who impacted your journey as a either storyteller or as a leader in communication?
Yeah. I've shared this before. I had a professor at Northwestern, Professor Ava Greenwell, and her class and just the way that she moved through the world, I think was such a huge impact on me. She was just so thoughtful in every class that I had with her, and she just opened my eyes around being a member of your local community and then being a national and global citizen, the responsibility that comes from that, and just in journalism that every single word you use has an impact in some way. So be very thoughtful around all of those words. So she was incredible.
Thank you for sharing that. You had shared that with me before. I was hopeful that you would share it with everyone else, and I do think that we engage with mentors, and I think for me it's helpful to just elevate their stories and their impact, and even thinking about roles that we play now, either informally or formally, as mentors to others. I was sharing with you today that Nas looks up to you so much, and she I think aspires right now to maybe be in maybe she hasn't said TV or journalism specifically, but more on the communication side as it relates to marketing and promo and things like that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, under your leadership in APS, we've developed some powerful brand messages like breaking barriers and powering your potential. Can you share the story behind those, and also, what they mean to you?
We have infinite stories in our district to tell. I think that's the challenge, and the fun of this job is there's always a student story, a staff story, a family story, a community story, of somebody who has been through incredible hardship and challenge, but they are so positive, resilient, give hope for right the future. And so when we think of like the totality of those stories, and when we were going through our rebranding process, with a lot of the research, I think that was one thing we knew we somehow had to capture. It felt like everybody was breaking barriers in some way, and so we knew we needed to do that. We also really wanted to capture the partnership element, right? Yes, people are breaking barriers, but they're frequently doing that in partnership with staff, schools, right? Of people who are cheering them on. You don't do that in just like an individual silo. And so those are things we really wanted to capture. And then I think, we talk about diversity all the time in our community because it's beautiful. It's one of the things that makes us unique. But with our brand, we also wanted to be very purposeful that it wasn't just, oh, cool, you guys are diverse. Like that's a feature, but rather what diversity does for our kids, our staff, our community. And what it does is it opens their eyes to the world. It makes them understand like, oh, there are so many people different than me, and I have to figure out how to understand and work with all of these different people from a very young age. That is super powerful. For kids to be able to have that from kindergarten to graduation is such a gift. And we've got to continue to tell that of how incredible that is for kids, that when they graduate from Aurora Public Schools, that's something unique, and incredible that they'll carry right for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And one of my favorite things from the last couple of years is when y'all do the Powering Your Potential features for the class, the graduating class. Yeah, it's another creative and amazing way that y'all get to tell the stories of our students.
Every graduating class, there's tearjerkers, there's like such characters that you are like, they're going to grow up and be like on SNL, right? Or
that's right.
Things. Yeah, we love to highlight the
graduates. Yes. This is typically the hardest question that people have when they come on the podcast, because I think there's so much great work that has happened, especially with your kind of longevity. What is your proudest moment, of being the Chief Communications Officer at APS?
That is a hard question. I mean, there's so many different things that we support and work that we've done. I think one of the toughest, but also proudest moments was during the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people, talk about that time. It feels really far away, but close at the same time. Interestingly, our team was every day part of IRTs, making sure that we were tracking, potential cases and sending out notifications. And so we would be in hours of meetings and then hours of getting messaging out every day from home. And it was a tough, challenging time. I'll say also, our team is very used to like in-person collaboration, being with right next to each other and working together. So also just that separation was odd. And then having to just deal with that pacing every day, and understanding how important though that was. We couldn't drop the ball, right? And that would have huge impacts. And so I think that was, I'm so proud of how the team showed up, and we supported the district during that time. But it certainly also was one of our toughest.
Totally. Yeah. It's hard to believe that was like 5.5 years ago now.
When you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, it was, but
it's like, it doesn't seem that long ago, and like a long time ago at the same time. Yeah. Wow. Okay, switching gears a little bit here. As a woman of color in leadership, what perspective do you bring to ensuring our communications reflect and honor the diversity of the APF community?
Ooh, I always think from my parents' lens too. So my parents immigrated from Korea, and growing up, uh, they always reinforced, you know, our vocabulary, our English skills um, not are you're going to outpace us very early, and um, you need to understand that because you have certain gaps at home, like you have to work 2 times harder around that. And so I tried, but a lens that I'm grateful for is, I think because of that, in our work, I'm always thinking about from their lens of, is this something that my mom and dad, when I was, in elementary school, is this something that if they received, that they would understand? I don't think we always hit that mark, but I do think through that lens, and I think, like, we have a lot of complex information. We need to make it understandable. But we also need to not lose the nuance in the message. And so there's just a lot of components that I think about, but I frequently think through their lens of, is this something that they would understand, that they would receive, that and just that's a lot of our parents, right? And so I am thinking through that one.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And yeah, I mean, we have 130 countries of origin represented in Aurora, 160 languages. Last week at the Hispanic Heritage Celebration, I thought about my own parents too, and just there's so much diversity in our community, and it is hard to make sure that the message lands with every single group. I think it's an important lens to have that, and we'll try our best to do that. Yeah.
And we can always get better.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Last question as we sort of transition out of some of that like leadership lesson space. Is there any piece of advice that you would give to, somebody like Naz, who maybe doesn't quite see themselves as a chief communications officer for a large school district someday, but has interest in, being in communications? What advice might you give to them?
I would say, people will frequently want to pin you in like a category, right, of some kind, or put you in a lane. And I don't think it's right intentional or a bad thing. It's just natural that people sort of do. And I would say, try to ignore that as much as possible and find your own path and way, right? I I was really scared when I was leaving journalism, and I thought, like, "Ooh, can I do other things? Like, what can I do?" And exploring different opportunities and getting into leadership and growing. I mean, these have been like dreams I didn't know that I had. And if I really just stayed in that little box and lane, I would have never gotten to where I am today. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing.
That is a great piece of advice, and it's not only for folks who see themselves in communications, right? That's so helpful for all of us, whether you decide to pursue a career in education or leadership or not. That don't let folks lock you into something that you can go beyond.
And sometimes it's also yourself, is that once other people, then you're self-reflecting and also putting yourself in that box. And so gotta get out.
Okay, a little bit of a fun segment we do is the leadership playlist. Do you have any books that either have shaped your leadership or that you're just like currently enjoying or you'd recommend for anyone who's listening?
I need to be better about reading books like you, with the discipline and the consistency.
That's funny.
I feel like I listen to podcasts,
Yeah,
leaned into
that's good.
podcasts a bit more. But some I love are like the entrepreneurial or business podcasts, so like How I Built This
Oh,
or
cool. Yeah,
Diary
yeah.
of a CEO. I think there's always interesting things about like someone thinking about a problem that they want to solve, and then the random things in their life
Yeah.
that empowered them to solve that, and the people around them, and or their environment. I mean, it's always just fascinating
Yeah.
to me. And so I sort of like digging into those. And then I always find there's always like one little nugget from each that I feel like I have to think about how can I incorporate that into
So,
like, my leadership
yeah.
or with the team.
It's funny. I have to admit, I always have a hard book that I'm like trying to read, but it's like a couple pages a night on the physical version. And then when I run or when I exercise, I switch it up. It's either a podcast, an audible, or music. And so like yesterday, I did some interval running, and so I have to run hard, and so I can't concentrate on the words, and so I'm just jamming out, listening to music. But I do like switch from books about leadership or education to like non-education or leadership related things that I just kind of want a distraction or learn something about. And actually, Lacey Jolly recently did the podcast, and she recommended a book called The Measure, which I started, and it's been really good so far. It's fiction, and it's about one day across the world, 22-year-old and above get a box that has a string in it, and it's the measure of your life. And so, yeah, it's this dynamic of like, well, I don't want to know, so
Yeah.
I'm not even opening the box, right? Or some people open the box and they find out that they have a really long string, but their partner has a very short string, and so kind of just navigating through all the things. There's like presidential candidates who kind of politicize the string, right? So like there's a guy on there who's like, look at my string. I'm proud to show it to you because it's very long, right? And so he's like, I think in the spirit of transparency, everyone needs to show their string. And there's people that are running that are like, have a short string. And so they start talking about like leaders like a JFK that like if JFK had said I have this short string, would you not have elected him? Like we might, yeah, how would it have impacted exactly? So it's fiction. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. I've been listening to that. Yeah,
That's definitely going to become a movie or a TV show, right?
I
might need to pick it up.
I had never heard of it,
Yeah.
which I'm a little embarrassed to say. Like I'm not hip to like the New York Times bestsellers list, but it's on there, so probably it was really cool. Um, Okay, what about music? What pumps you up? What are you listening to? What do you car sing?
I uh I know people hate when they like the cop out answer is I listen to everything, but I just love music. And so like blues, soul, hip hop, rap, pop, like indie. I mean, it sort of feels like it depends on the mood.
Yeah.
And then but yeah, I've plugged the radio station KEXP before. It's a Seattle radio station, and they have like awesome DJ sets of like records that you would never find.
Yeah.
It's just they're very eclectic, random, huge collection. So they're always just introducing like new songs that I haven't heard and things. And so I love, yeah, I'll listen to much of it, depending on the mood.
All right, lightning round. What did Destination APS mean to you as the person helping to tell our district story?
So, our strategic plan, I think what is so beautiful is that it is ambitious, visionary in terms of where we're headed as a district, of everybody being excited to be a part of this district and really feeling like I've made it. This is my destination. So I love that. But also I think we've identified some really important areas in our district that we have to strategically target to get there. And so I love the work that we're doing around our strategic priorities. I think the key players in each two are excited about carrying this work forward. And I think what's also been exciting to see is it's not just like one person or department who's responsible for one thing and then nobody ever sees like behind their curtain around what's happening. We're really trying to build that collective ownership of all of these have a level of our responsibility right around them. So I'm excited. I think, check us back out in a few years and I think we'll have made a lot of incredible, noteworthy progress.
Yes, I agree with you, and which is a beautiful segue for my next lightning round question. How do you hope APS's brand and story will evolve in the years ahead?
I've shared this before. I love an underdog story.
Yeah.
And I think Aurora Public Schools has sort of been considered like an underdog in the metro and education. And so I, in a few years, hope that people see we should never have underestimated Aurora Public Schools and just how much we're capable of when we band together and have the right people and focus on the right work.
Absolutely. Patti, what's one last message you want every APS member to know about the power of their story?
Sometimes I think I have felt this a lot is, my story doesn't have enough of something to be that interesting or cool or, but no, everybody has something in there. This is something they've been through, a person who has super impacted them, something they're really passionate about. You have something incredible to offer. So make sure to tell that story, connect with people. I mean, this is why we're here, on Earth. And so I would just say, even sometimes if you're timid or feeling really self-conscious about some of those things, break out of that and just try.
Absolutely.
And it might be a little at first, but you'll get more comfortable and I think you'll be surprised at how you connect.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your journey with us today. Your work helps our entire APS community understand and celebrate who we are while also navigating the challenging moments with clarity and compassion, care. The way you've shaped our district voice reflects your own leadership story, and appreciate you sharing some words of wisdom with us today. Join us next time as we continue exploring the paths of those who are helping guide us toward Destination APS. Until then, keep running your race with purpose.